What if the world surrounding you is not as solid as you have always believed? What if every decision, every coincidence, every opportunity and every obstacle exists as an invisible possibility waiting for one thing? Your attention. At this exact moment your eyes are focused on this screen, but according to quantum physics billions of microscopic events are unfolding in countless different ways until observation forces one of those possibilities to become reality. Most people hear this and think it belongs inside a laboratory. But what if the greatest experiment has always been your own mind? For thousands of years ancient mystics, monks, philosophers and spiritual teachers repeated the same mysterious idea. The outer world is a reflection of the inner observer. Long before quantum mechanics existed they claimed that consciousness is not a passive witness but an active creator. Modern science may not fully confirm every spiritual claim, yet something remarkable has emerged. The observer matters. And once you understand why, you may never look at reality the same way again. Take a slow breath. Because this journey begins inside the smallest structures of existence. Imagine standing inside complete darkness. Nothing moves. Nothing exists. There are no sounds, no colors, no objects. Then suddenly a single point of light appears. The moment you notice it, the darkness changes. One observation transforms infinite uncertainty into a single experience. Your entire life follows this invisible principle. Every morning your brain receives millions of pieces of information. The temperature of the air. The position of objects. The expressions on faces. The sound surrounding you. Yet your conscious mind processes only a tiny fraction of them. Your brain is constantly collapsing infinite information into one personal reality. Scientists call this selective attention, spiritual traditions call it awareness. Perhaps both are describing different sides of the same phenomenon. Think about two people walking through the same city. One notices kindness, opportunities, beauty and inspiration. The other notices danger, disappointment, conflict and failure. The city never changed. The observer changed. And suddenly two completely different realities emerge from exactly the same environment. Could consciousness itself function like a filter that selects which version of reality becomes dominant? This question has fascinated physicists, philosophers and psychologists for decades. The famous double-slit experiment challenged everything scientists believed about matter. Tiny particles behaved like waves until measurement occurred. Once observed, they appeared to choose a definite state. Reality seemed to respond differently when observation entered the equation. Many interpretations exist and physicists continue debating what it truly means. But outside laboratories something equally fascinating happens every single day. Human perception shapes experience. Expectation changes behavior. Belief influences biology. Attention rewires neural pathways. Your nervous system literally changes according to what you repeatedly observe. This is called neuroplasticity. Every repeated thought strengthens specific neural connections. Every repeated emotion reinforces biological patterns. Eventually the brain becomes so efficient that it automatically predicts reality before events even happen. You stop seeing possibilities. You begin seeing expectations. If you expect rejection, your posture changes. Your voice changes. Your facial expressions change. Other people unconsciously respond to those signals. Then your brain whispers, "I knew this would happen." The cycle repeats. Not because the universe punished you, but because your internal observer continuously selected familiar patterns. Ancient spiritual teachers understood this process without using neuroscience. They taught that attention is sacred energy. Whatever receives sustained awareness grows stronger. Fear grows through observation. Hope grows through observation. Confidence grows through observation. Even suffering grows through observation. The observer feeds experience. Now imagine another possibility. What if you deliberately redirected attention toward a different future? Could reality begin reorganizing itself? Perhaps not through magic. but through countless invisible mechanisms working together. Your breathing changes. Hormones shift. Stress decreases. Creativity increases. Your decisions improve. Your conversations become different. New opportunities appear because you finally notice possibilities that always existed. From the outside, everything looks like luck. From the inside, consciousness quietly changed direction. This is why ancient meditation practices focus first on awareness rather than manifestation. Before creating anything externally, you must first discover who is observing internally. Close your eyes for a moment. Notice thoughts arriving without invitation. Notice memories appearing automatically. Notice emotions moving through your body. If you can observe those experiences, who exactly is the observer? You are not the thought. You are the awareness noticing the thought. You are not the fear. You are the awareness witnessing the fear. This realization appears throughout Eastern philosophy, mystical Christianity, Sufism, Buddhism, and modern mindfulness research. Behind every mental event exists silent consciousness. And from that silence, new possibilities emerge. Now another mystery appears. Breathing. Most people believe breathing only supplies oxygen. Ancient traditions believed something much greater. They described breath as the bridge connecting physical existence and consciousness. Every emotion instantly changes breathing. Fear becomes shallow. Peace becomes slow. Excitement becomes rapid. Love becomes rhythmic. The body reveals the state of the observer through breath long before words appear. Modern neuroscience discovered something extraordinary. Slow, controlled breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Heart rate decreases. Stress hormones reduce. Attention stabilizes. Brain networks synchronize. The observer literally becomes calmer. And when perception changes, reality appears different. This may explain why ancient masters always began transformation with breathing instead of thinking. Because changing breath changes biology. Changing biology changes perception. Changing perception changes decisions. Changing decisions slowly changes life. Manifestation may begin not with wishing, but with observing. Not with forcing, but with aligning. Imagine standing beside an endless ocean at night. Every wave represents a possible future. Some waves carry fear. Some carry abundance. Some carry loneliness. Some carry connection. You cannot stop the ocean, but you can choose which wave to surf. Attention is that choice. Every moment you invest energy into one possibility while withdrawing energy from another. Most people spend years unconsciously observing anxiety. Then wonder why anxiety becomes familiar reality. Few intentionally observe gratitude, curiosity, purpose, and courage until those qualities become biological habits. Perhaps manifestation is less about attracting something distant, and more about becoming capable of recognizing what has always surrounded you. The universe may contain infinite possibilities, but your observer determines which doorway becomes visible. This idea changes everything. Because if observation influences experience, then every ordinary moment becomes sacred. Every conversation becomes a choice. Every breath becomes a decision. Every thought becomes a vote for the future you are creating, and this is only the beginning. Because the next discovery is even stranger. What if consciousness is not isolated inside your brain? What if every observer is connected through an invisible field beyond space and time? And what if changing yourself quietly changes the reality experienced by everyone around you? Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that every fear you repeated yesterday became a silent instruction sent into your nervous system, and every hope you truly felt became a blueprint for a completely different future. Most people believe reality changes first and emotions follow later, but countless spiritual traditions have suggested the opposite. They teach that the inner state becomes the invisible architect of the outer world, and the physical universe simply reflects the observer who continuously interacts with it. Perhaps this is why two people can live through the same event and emerge with completely different lives. One sees loss and becomes smaller while the other sees transformation and becomes stronger. The event remains identical, yet the observer creates a different meaning, and meaning slowly becomes identity. Modern neuroscience offers an interesting perspective. Every repeated experience strengthens neural pathways until the brain begins predicting reality before it happens. Instead of responding to the present moment, the mind compares everything to old memories and familiar emotions. In other words, most people are not experiencing reality. They are experiencing their expectations. This explains why some individuals unconsciously recreate the same relationships, the same disappointments, and even the same opportunities for decades. Their internal observer never changes, so their external experience continues following the same invisible blueprint. Ancient teachers described this pattern as sleeping while awake. They believe most human beings move through life automatically reacting to unconscious programs inherited from childhood culture, fear, and survival instincts. The body becomes a machine repeating yesterday while consciousness quietly waits to be noticed. The first step toward transformation is surprisingly simple. Observe the observer. Do not fight your thoughts. Watch them. Do not suppress emotions. Notice them. The moment awareness appears, automatic programming begins losing its power. Now imagine your mind as a radio transmitter. Every thought carries information. Every emotion adds energy. Every belief determines the frequency. You may not consciously hear this broadcast, yet your nervous system lives inside it every second of every day. When fear dominates attention, your breathing becomes shallow, muscles tighten, cortisol rises, and perception narrows. Suddenly the world appears dangerous, not necessarily because danger increased, but because your biology filters information through survival. When calm awareness replaces fear, breathing slows, heart rhythms synchronize, attention expands, creativity increases, and possibilities become visible again. Nothing magical happened. Yet your entire reality changed. This is why ancient meditation masters spent years mastering breath instead of chasing external success. They understood something modern science is beginning to appreciate. Breath changes consciousness. Consciousness changes perception. Perception changes action. Action changes destiny. Many people search for manifestation techniques while ignoring the biological instrument performing the manifestation. Their own body. Close your eyes and inhale slowly for 5 seconds. Hold the breath gently. Exhale even more slowly. Immediately your heartbeat begins adjusting. The nervous system receives a message. There is no danger. The brain starts releasing different chemical signals. Stress loses intensity. Attention becomes stable. In this quiet state, something remarkable happens. You begin noticing opportunities that anxiety previously hid. The conversation you avoided suddenly becomes possible. The idea you ignored suddenly feels obvious. The solution that always existed finally enters awareness. Perhaps manifestation is not creating something from nothing. Perhaps it is removing internal noise until existing possibilities become visible. Quantum physics speaks about probability. Life presents probability every moment. Every conversation contains countless possible outcomes. Every decision opens invisible pathways. Every relationship contains multiple futures. Your observer continuously selects which possibility receives attention, energy, and action. Ancient mystics described this process differently. They called it intention. Not wishing. Not hoping. Not demanding. But becoming internally aligned with a chosen reality until every thought, every breath, every action begins moving in the same direction. Now consider another fascinating possibility. Why do certain people completely change the atmosphere of a room without speaking a single word? Everyone has experienced it. Someone enters carrying anxiety and suddenly silence becomes uncomfortable. Another person enters carrying peace and everyone naturally relaxes. Science explains part of this through mirror neurons, emotional contagion, facial micro-expressions, posture, and subconscious communication. Spiritual traditions describe an energetic field surrounding consciousness. Different language. Similar observation. Human beings continuously influence one another. Your internal observer never remains private. Your nervous system silently communicates through posture, breathing, eye movement, voice rhythm, and hundreds of unconscious signals every second. People respond before logic even begins. This creates a profound responsibility. Every moment you cultivate fear, you strengthen fear within your own biology and subtly transmit it into every interaction. Every moment you cultivate presence, patience, gratitude, and courage, you become a stabilizing influence for everyone around you. Perhaps changing the world always begins by changing the observer. This understanding completely transforms manifestation. Instead of asking, "How can I force reality to give me what I want?" you begin asking, "Who must I become so this reality naturally emerges?" That single question changes everything. Because identity creates habits. Habits create actions. Actions create opportunities. Opportunities create outcomes. And eventually the new outcome feels like destiny. Yet destiny may simply be accumulated observation repeated over thousands of ordinary moments. Ancient wisdom repeatedly warns against one invisible enemy. Attachment. The harder you desperately chase one outcome, the more your nervous system remains trapped in lack. Your body continuously broadcasts, "I do not have it. I need it. I am incomplete." Stress replaces trust. Control replaces awareness. Fear replaces curiosity. The observer collapses possibility into limitation. This is why so many traditions teach surrender. Not surrendering dreams. Surrendering resistance. Like water flowing around obstacles, consciousness becomes powerful when it stops fighting reality and begins cooperating with it. Now imagine standing beside a perfectly still lake. Every thought creates ripples. Some disappear instantly. Others travel across the entire surface, touching distant shores. Your consciousness functions similarly. Small daily observations appear insignificant until years later they have completely reshaped identity, relationships, health, purpose, and direction. One grateful breath cannot transform a lifetime. But 10,000 conscious breaths absolutely can. One positive thought changes very little. 10,000 repeated observations literally reorganize neural architecture. Transformation is rarely dramatic. It is microscopic until suddenly it becomes impossible to ignore. This is why most people quit too early. They plant seeds and expect forests tomorrow. Ancient masters understood patience because nature itself operates through invisible accumulation. Roots grow before trees. Silence exists before music. Breath arrives before speech. Awareness appears before creation. Perhaps the universe has always worked this way. Invisible first. Visible later. And if that is true, then every quiet moment of conscious observation becomes an investment into a future reality that has not yet appeared but is already beginning to organize itself beneath the surface. The observer does not merely watch the journey. The observer slowly becomes the journey. But one final mystery remains. If individual awareness can transform personal experience, then what happens when millions of observers focus on the same fear, the same hope, or the same possibility at exactly the same time? Could collective consciousness become the hidden force shaping civilizations, cultures, and even history itself? That question leads us to the deepest and most unsettling discovery of all. There is a reason ancient mystics closed their eyes before they opened them. They understood something modern civilization almost forgot. The greatest force available to a human being is not physical strength, intelligence, or even technology. It is attention. Because attention is the invisible currency that tells reality where to organize itself. Every single day your consciousness votes for one version of existence while silently abandoning thousands of others. Most people believe they are reacting to life. But from another perspective, they are continuously selecting life. Every fear becomes a direction. Every expectation becomes a blueprint. Every repeated image becomes an instruction sent into the deepest layers of the nervous system. Your brain begins searching for evidence. Your emotions begin amplifying it. Your body begins preparing for it. Your decisions begin supporting it. And eventually the external world reflects what originally existed only inside your mind. This is why two people can live in the same city, work in the same building, and experience completely different realities. One notices opportunity. The other notices danger. One finds connection. The other finds rejection. Neither sees the entire world. Each sees the world their observation allows. Perhaps reality has always been less like a photograph and more like a mirror. The mirror never creates your expression. It simply reflects it. Quantum manifestation becomes easier to understand when viewed through this lens. Manifestation is not forcing the universe to obey your wishes. It is becoming so internally consistent that your perception, behavior, and decisions begin aligning toward one possibility until that possibility becomes statistically inevitable. Every entrepreneur who suddenly discovers opportunities was not given a different universe. Their attention changed. Every artist who suddenly sees inspiration everywhere was not blessed by random luck. Their observation changed. Every person who heals after years of emotional pain often says something remarkable. The world suddenly became kinder. But maybe the world did not change. Maybe the observer did. The nervous system contains another fascinating mechanism called predictive processing. Instead of waiting for reality to arrive, your brain constantly predicts what should happen next. It generates a model of reality before reality appears. Incoming information is then compared against that prediction. Anything matching the model is strengthened. Anything conflicting with it is often ignored. In other words, you rarely experience pure reality. You experience your brain's best prediction of reality. Think about that for a moment. If your internal model says people cannot be trusted, your brain will unconsciously highlight every betrayal while minimizing every act of kindness. If your model says abundance exists, you begin noticing ideas, opportunities, conversations, and possibilities that were invisible before. Your external experience begins reorganizing because your internal filter changed. Ancient traditions describe this as changing vibration. Modern neuroscience calls it predictive coding. Different language. Surprisingly similar principle. Now consider breathing. Most people see breathing as automatic. But conscious breathing creates something extraordinary. It interrupts unconscious prediction. A slow, deep breath activates the parasympathetic nervous system. Heart rate slows. Stress hormones decrease. Attention stabilizes. The mind exits survival mode. In that state, your perception widens. You literally notice more information. This may explain why so many meditation traditions place enormous importance on breath. Breath becomes the bridge between automatic reality and conscious reality. Every inhale says, I am here. Every exhale says, I choose again. Imagine beginning every morning with a simple exercise. Close your eyes. Take one slow breath. Picture the version of yourself that already embodies peace, confidence, creativity, abundance, or wisdom. Do not beg for it. Observe it. Watch that version walking, speaking, smiling, solving problems. Feel the emotional state before looking for physical evidence. Remain there for several minutes. Then open your eyes and carry that observer into the day. You are not pretending. You are training attention. And attention eventually becomes perception. Perception becomes behavior. Behavior becomes destiny. This is where countless people abandon the process. They expect immediate external miracles. But nature rarely works through explosions. It works through accumulation. Mountains are built one particle at a time. Forests grow one cell at a time. Brains rewire one repetition at a time. Reality itself may unfold through countless microscopic selections happening every second beyond conscious awareness. The observer who patiently returns again and again slowly changes the architecture of experience. Small conversations become different. Unexpected people appear. Ideas emerge. Confidence increases. Coincidences multiply. Many call these synchronicities. Carl Jung described synchronicity as meaningful coincidence connecting inner and outer worlds. Perhaps synchronicities are moments when your internal observation becomes so coherent that the boundary between intention and experience appears astonishingly thin. Not magic. Alignment. This also explains why chronic fear becomes self-reinforcing. Every fearful observation strengthens the prediction. Every prediction shapes perception. Every perception confirms fear. A closed loop develops. Breaking that loop does not require controlling the universe. It requires interrupting observation. Observe something new. Observe possibility instead of certainty. Observe curiosity instead of judgment. Observe gratitude instead of lack. Every new observation becomes a vote for another reality. Now imagine millions of people doing this simultaneously. Entire cultures could shift, innovation could accelerate. Conflict could decrease. Creativity could expand. History itself may be the accumulation of collective observation repeated across generations until societies begin living inside shared assumptions. Every civilization is built first as an invisible story. Only afterward does it become architecture, politics, economics, science, and culture. Reality begins as attention before becoming structure. Perhaps this is why every spiritual tradition speaks about awakening. Awakening is not escaping reality. It is realizing that you have participated in creating the version you experience all along. And once you recognize participation, you also recognize responsibility. You become careful about where you place your attention. You become selective about which emotions you rehearse. You become aware of the stories you repeat every day. Because every repetition is construction. Every observation is architecture. Every breath is another opportunity to choose. Maybe the observer effect is not trying to convince you that thoughts magically move mountains. Maybe it is revealing something quieter but infinitely more powerful. That every mountain humanity has ever climbed first existed inside someone's imagination. Every invention, every movement, every revolution, every work of art, every act of courage appeared first as an invisible observation before becoming visible reality. Perhaps your future is already existing as one probability among countless others quietly waiting for your sustained attention. And perhaps the universe has never been asking one question. Not whether you are worthy. Not whether you are capable. Not whether you deserve abundance. Only this. What reality will you continue observing until it becomes impossible for existence to ignore? Because from the moment you consciously choose your observation, you stop being a passenger inside reality. You become one of its architects.